Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fit Geek Show. Today we have a very special guest all the way from New York City,
Right.
John Joseph, who is also an original singer of Cro-Mags and Blood Clot. He is a 12-time Ironman, two-time Kona championship participant, and he's also a Bhakti yoga practitioner. So thank you so much for joining us today, John. I'm really excited to have you on.
Oh yeah, thank you. It's my pleasure to finally link up. We've been trying to make this happen for a
Yeah.
while, but
Yeah,
I've just
and
been busy. I
oh
just
yeah,
raced
in
in
Mexico, right? I was
Mexico.
following your Instagram.
Yeah, and also I was having to finish an edit on this new book that's coming out. So amongst everything else in life. So
Okay.
but I
Yeah, yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
make time. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, and speaking of that, you're also an author, and you've written three books so far. Number
Five books.
one, oh, five books. Okay,
Yeah, I got two books coming out this up.
oh,
I finished a book on health, how to do plant-based and every aspect of doing a plant-based diet,
mhm,
from eliminating what substances need to be eliminated
mhm.
to how to set up your kitchen and the whole nine yards. And then I got a cookbook. So,
Oh wow, that's nice. Personally, I do eat meat, but sometimes it gets really hard for me to be vegetarian. I was a vegetarian for about 18 years of my life. Hey John, are you there? I think we lost you. Oh yeah, now you're back.
sorry, I lost you there,
Yeah,
but
now, yeah.
I didn't hear most of what you said. Is
Yes, I used to be a vegetarian for 18 years of my life because of my family being Hindu and the tradition of being vegetarian in my family. So we are also Krishna followers and not exactly ISKCON or Bhaktivedanta philosophy, but some other Krishna philosophy.
yeah.
So it's great to hear from you. And so the books that you've written so
Yeah, I
far.
mean, I practice, the diet of ahimsa. I don't try. I grew up in a world of violence, and
Mhm,
I'm not trying to cause unnecessary harm or violence to other living entities, especially on my plate, which it's been proven scientifically we don't need meat to survive. So
mhm.
I think, you know, I just
Yes.
eliminated it 40 years ago, and I'm 58 and still grinding every day. So, you
Wow,
know,
40 years ago you left meat.
yeah, I stopped eating meat at the end of 1980, like going into like 81. So, yeah,
Mhm.
it's going to be 40 years coming up now.
Oh, that's great. So since you mentioned that you grew up in an environment of a lot of violence, how did that shape you as an athlete, and what was your experience like that
Shape me as what? I'm
as an
sorry.
athlete, as an Ironman?
Uh, well, I grew up, my father was a professional boxer
Okay.
in New York and trained under Customato over here at Gramercy Gym, who
Mhm.
trained Floyd Patterson and all the world champions. So, he was very violent and alcoholic, and
Okay.
that broke up the family. We ended up in bad foster homes, and I ended up going on the streets and in New York City at 14, 1976. And
Mhm.
after 2 years, was getting in trouble, selling drugs and doing stupid things. And
Mhm.
I ended up going to lockup. Uh, Back then, juvenile prison was 21 and under. So
Okay.
I went to Spofford in the Bronx and then uh, upstate for 21 months in a lockup.
Mhm.
And, being young, they really forced the idea of staying active and
Mhm.
sports programs and stuff, like. So I was big in that. I and, you know, other stuff to keep busy, and realized, you know, that athletically, I was able to accomplish a lot of things. And I just kept it going after that, and then eliminated all the bad stuff from my life. I got Prabhupada's books in 81 and lived as a brahmachari monk from 82 to 84. So, and still practiced martial arts and, you know, the Bhakti yoga program and all that.
Yes, yes. And when did you first get introduced to the Bhakti yoga philosophy?
Early 81. I was working in a health food store in New York, and
Okay.
one of the guys who was the manager was familiar with it and just kept giving me books, and then took me to the temple for the morning program for Mangal Arati and Guru Puja for Prabhupada, and that was it. I was just like, wow. And, you know, meeting the devotees, they were such nice people
Yeah.
that I just was like, hey, you know, these are the kind of people I want to be around. So,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I too am a life member in ISKCON. So as a kid, my dad got me a life membership in ISKCON. So whenever I travel in cities in India, if they have like a guest house of ISKCON, I try and stay there because it's really positive. And
Yeah.
you know, every morning they have like the Mangal Arati, as you said, early in the morning, 5 or 4, I think. And
4:15 a.m.
yes, exactly. And we really enjoy it. So I can totally see that. And it also infuses a lot of positivity, which brings me to the next question of the positive mental attitude book that you've written. Did the Bhakti philosophy also inspire you to write that book? Oh yeah, this one, the PMA Effect. Yes.
Of course. I mean, you know, you learn from being a devotee, the Sanskrit term Bhakta Sangan, it means, you know, we should associate with spiritually minded people. And most of those people that I found were very positive, and the circles I traveled in the city, you know, being a musician and all of that, it tends to be, you know, a lot of negative influences around that whole kind of, you know, genre of life, you know, the whole sex, drugs, and rock and roll and all that crap nonsense. I mean, you see where it got those people. Most of them are dead or, you know, overdosing and have health issues and all that stuff. So when I came out of the temple, I injected Krishna conscious philosophy of the Vedas into the Cro-Mags. And that's how we got the album Age of Quarrel, was because that's what the Srimad Bhagavatam says. This is the iron age of quarrel and hypocrisy. And from studying the Vedas every day and stuff like that, I just implemented that. And part of that is, you know, what I've been on Rich Roll's podcast, and, you know, he had a guest on recently that said, you know, mood follows action, you know, not the other way around. So you have to take action, and then your mood is changed by taking that action. So as far as, you know, PMA was concerned, having a positive mental attitude, it was all about taking those steps for that to happen by constant work. It's a constant, you know, I mean, that's why I even say I'm a work in progress. I deal with stuff on a daily basis. I still, you know, have meltdowns occasionally.
Of course.
Get angry. That's part of life, but you have to learn to recognize it and then take the steps to get out of it. And, you know, somebody asked me, do I ever get depressed? And I'm like, never. I never get depressed, because the minute some even bad feelings come, you take the action to overcome that. And that's, you know, they got so many people on these medicines now.
Yep.
Oh, I had a string of, a month of bad days, and they think that the answers to all their problems are found in prescription bottles, and it's not.
True.
You know.
John, for some reason your video has frozen. Oh, now it's back. Now it's back. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Just in New York City, everybody's on their computers, so it's tending to, mess with the signal a little bit.
Oh, that's completely fine. Technology has its own downsides. It's fine.
Yeah.
And yeah, you correctly said that a lot of people, especially in the States, are on prescription drugs, and that is
yeah.
also increasing in India.
Yeah, because the pharmaceutical companies are running everything.
The
right. Pharmaceutical companies are running the media, especially now what we see going on. That's a whole nother issue.
Oh yeah.
But,
I see you're pretty vocal about the COVID scenario on your Instagram.
Well, there's the fear mongering, and then there's these statistics, and the numbers don't lie. What's going on, and I can just tell you, dozens and dozens of people I know had relatives die of other things, and they listed it as COVID. You have to understand something. Disease is a business, right?
True.
And hospitals are making money off of this, left, right, and center. The pharmaceutical companies, I think something like $37 billion they're going to make off of this vaccine now. And, I won't take it. I don't need it. I don't tell people what to do.
Correct.
That's on them. But, I've invested 40 years into my immune system of eating right and a positive attitude. It's proven that too much stress causes disease too. It releases cortisol in the body, the stress hormone.
Absolutely.
So, it's like training a special forces soldier, right? Some of those guys, and I'm friends with a lot of them, they'll train for years before they ever see combat. So I've put all this work into my immune system, and now that things are happening like this is, there's going to be the next respiratory disease, which is what this is. And, I'm not going to take some drug for that. I let my immune system, I take my herbs. I'm very much into the Ayurvedic system of medicine. And, I mix that with, a lot of the food and stuff, the plant-based organic. I avoid drinking, smoking, all of that stuff, and exercising regularly and meditating. I chant Hare Krishna every single day. If I don't, then the effects of the Kali Yuga are going to take over.
Yes.
That's what Prabhupada said. Prabhupada said, Prabhupada, the Beatles' friends had a house, he was friends with George, and that was haunted outside of London by ghosts, and very bad, and they said, Prabhupada, can you come and chant? So Prabhupada went and chanted in the house, and the bhutas, the ghosts left. And Prabhupada said, now you must keep chanting or they will come back. So it's like that. If you don't chant Hare Krishna every day, you try to follow the regular principles, you offer your food, you read, then the effects of Kali Yuga are going to get you. That's why I'm vocal about what I see going on, because there's an agenda being pushed, but at the same time, I'm also pushing the PMA. I'm also telling people, listen, read these books, read the Bhagavatam, read the Srimad Bhagavatam, read Isha Upanishad, read Bhagavad Gita as it is. That's where the answers are.
True.
And that was I posted something from Prabhupada today, that the real problem starts when people forget that they're the spirit soul. And that's more powerful than anything in the material world. And even the influences of the Kali Yuga. So, I just became a certified life coach, so I'm getting into that too. And I think a lot of the answers to people's problems are, I went through the school of hard knocks, so to speak, for most of my life. So I think, like, I would go to juvenile prisons and high schools in New York City, because people would want me to speak to the kids.
Correct.
The fact of the matter is, not just kids, but even adults. The way you get through to people is that you have empathy for what they're going through, because you've been there. And I struggled with addiction and all kinds of stuff throughout my life. And even the kids in the schools and the prisons that I went to, it's like they're not going to listen to somebody with a PhD just because they have a PhD. And they can't connect with them. I'm like, yo, I've been there, done that. When I tell them my journey of where I came from and the hard knock streets of New York, and, even to like being locked up in the whole 9 yards and addiction, and to turn all that around and become a devotee of Krishna, and, also still function in the material world, writing books and movies, and training for triathlon, for Ironman, whatever. I mean, Prabhupada said, not everybody's cut out to be a monk. Not everybody's cut out to be a brahmachari. Most people will be, grihasta.
Yes.
They'll hold a household outside of the temple. Make your home a temple. And, that's, to me, you need to bring the light into the dark room. Darkness cannot exist in light. Once you bring light into the room, that's it. And there's a lot of darkness going on right now, but what's the light? Trying to defeat these people politically? Of course not. You're never going to be able to do that, because they have, there's 4 corporations that own 95% of the media on the planet. So everything's being controlled. They're censoring social media platforms. So, like, to me, I'm like, who gives a shit what they got to say? Like, I don't sit there with the news cycle on. I'd rather watch, old episodes of Mayberry RFD, or The King of Queens, or Everybody Loves Raymond, or like comedy and laugh, and you have to take everything with a grain of salt. And if I sat there listening to what these people are projecting, and that's what I just tell people: extract yourself from all of that, take the focus from out there and turn it in here. And don't watch the news. There's nothing good coming out of what these people are saying. And the thing that people don't realize is that's not their words. They've been handed a script. The minute they go off script, they get fired. So who's writing the scripts? Who's telling these people what to say? That's what it boils down to, And that's why, I read Prabhupada's books. The Parampara is there, the disciplic succession, going back for thousands of years, teachers in India. And what I notice is that everybody in America is running to India now, and the knowledge of India for the culture, and the Indians are all trying to become Americans. So you tell me what's, and everything's ass backwards, and I tell people that when I meet people, like somebody just came up to me on Thanksgiving. I went out for a little while and fed the homeless plant-based meals, and this Indian gentleman came, and he's like, oh my God, I follow you I just moved here 4 days ago from the West Coast, California. I follow you on Instagram and this and that, and I love what you do. And, I said, look, my only advice, don't try to become a Westerner, man, because, the Western world it's Maya, and India has the culture. And everybody knows, because everything is at our disposal in America, and still we're the most medicated, over-medicated,
True.
stressed out, unhappy individuals on the face of the earth. 1 in 3 Americans are obese.
Yeah. Yeah.
73% of Americans are overweight. 73%.
That's a lot. Yeah.
So, you know, if every single aspect, just like you say the prayer, Sarida Vijayada Jandiyatarika Jive Pile Vasaya Sagare Dharamaje Jivayati, before you honor prasadam. And it's that of all the senses, the tongue is the most difficult and voracious to control.
True.
So the tongue wants to talk nonsense, the tongue wants to eat nonsense. You know, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita what he'll accept: a leaf, flower, fruit, or water. He doesn't say, offer me, you know, chicken menstrual cycles or dead chickens or hamburgers or fish. So that's my message to people. Anyone in India, you have the culture, and don't lose sight of that culture. You have the ancient, you know, the Vedas are, it means knowledge. That's the highest knowledge on the planet, you know?
That's very true. And I'd like to add to what you said. I also left India in 2009 to go to the US. I lived 4 years in Missouri and 2 years in Ohio, and then I came back to India in 2016. So the reason, I mean, at that time, I was completely blinded by, you know, the Maya that you said, which is more money and, you know, jobs and further education and stuff like that. And then after I returned, then I sort of realized that, you know, okay, America is nice, but even India has its own cultural heritage, and we shouldn't forget it.
Well, Prabhupada said that being attracted to that is like being attracted by the jewels on the head of a serpent. You're lured in, and then the bite comes, and it's death. So people come from India, and then they come here, and then they want to eat meat and take intoxication and do all this nonsense. And then Americans are like giving all that up and being like, look, we had all that. We're miserable sons of bitches. Maybe there's another way, man, you know? And then they turn to the ancient culture. And then, unfortunately, what you have is sahajas. You have these cheater gurus that are out here cheating people.
Yeah.
So how do we know who the real acharya is? What does acharya mean? One who lives by example.
Correct.
So if you watch the movie Your Ever Well Wisher on YouTube about Prabhupada, you can see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago predicted the advent of Prabhupada, that he would spread the chanting of Hare Krishna all over the world. He had no bank account. He had no no material possessions. He lived very humbly. He served others his entire life. He traveled the globe, I think, 7 times, and he's in the Guinness World Book of Records for translating more of the Vedic literature than anyone. So Prabhupada was no ordinary living entity, and now you get all these people with these yoga societies and this and that, and, you know, they're doing all kinds of nonsense. And, you know, Prabhupada said that's not yoga, that's gymnastics. So if you don't practice the real teachings of yoga as laid out in the Bhagavad Gita, it tells you what is real yoga, and it breaks down the different yoga systems. So you can't just make up the rules as you go along, and that's been the problem with a lot of organizations, and even ISKCON. They changed a lot of what Prabhupada set up. So I try to stay to the original teachers. I want to know what Prabhupada said. And if I want to know what Prabhupada said, all I got to do is look in the books. That's it. Or watch lectures that Prabhupada gave on YouTube, or, you know, I mean, I just take it for myself, like what I've been through in my life. I escaped death I don't know how many times. And the happiest times in my life are when I'm chanting Hare Krishna and around devotees and people with the PMA, with the positive mental attitude. We got a name for those other people. We call them crumb bums. They're always like miserable and, you know.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, that's so true. You said different forms of yoga are being developed without authenticity. I'm completely for that, because not just the West, even here that's starting. In the West, at least in the US, I saw there's something called beer yoga that started. People drink beer and do yoga together.
Yeah,
And
beer
then
yoga. Yeah, that's the Irish. They started that one.
and then there's like goat yoga, where like you do yoga with like goats in your hand, on a farm.
Goats.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
there's dog yoga. They got yoga. They got a yoga for everything. You know,
yeah.
but that's nonsense.
Hmm.
You
And
know, coming from somebody like when I lived in the ashram, I went to bed at 8 o'clock every night. I got up at 2. I chanted 16 rounds of Hare Krishna before Mangalarti. I studied. I went out. I gave out books. I
hmm.
went out in Dodi on the streets of New York, and you know, I lived it.
Hmm.
So
So do you recognize yourself as a Hindu, or do you only recognize
oh
yourself
well,
as an
you
ISKCON
know,
devotee?
this is Prabhupada said we're not Hindus. We follow the Varnashram Dharma, and we're devotees of Krishna. That's
Okay.
it, you know.
Okay.
Like Prabhupada said, a dog has a collar to remind the dog who the master is.
Hmm.
That's why I wear Tulsi beads. This is my reminder
Yeah.
that first of all, I'm a dog. And second of all, who's my master is Krishna and Prabhupada. So, you know, actually that term Hindu came because devotees were meditating on the Hindi River, and then the Muslims were the ones who called devotees Hindus.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look back to the ancient Vedic civilization and you read Bhagavatam, which is tens and thousands, I mean,
Yeah.
Bhagavatam goes back to the Treta Yuga, the Satya Yuga,
Yes.
the Dwapara Yuga.
Mm.
You don't see any mention of the word Hindu.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. True.
So this is something that's come around in the last, you know, say whatever, couple thousand years. But
Yeah. Yeah. It
I
was
mean,
only after the invasions of India.
Krishna was present on the Earth planet 5,000 years ago. He spoke Bhagavad Gita in Kurukshetra,
Mm-hmm.
and you will not find any mention of the word Hindu in
Mm-hmm.
any of the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
But you will find Varnashram Dharma and Vaishnava, the
Yes.
Vaishnavism, and
Mm.
Krishna says, Tesham satati yuktanam bhajapam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayante te, that those who worship me with love and devotion, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me.
Mm.
So everybody's trying to make the material world, the prison house, a nice place. The
Mm-hmm.
material world is never going to be a nice place. It's not going to happen. We don't belong here. And Prabhupada said you have to treat it like a bathroom. You do your business and get out. You don't sit around hankering and hanging curtains in the toilet stall and put a TV. I guess some people do these days. Because of what they're eating, they can't go to the bathroom for 2 hours. But you know, there was a lot of, you know, Prabhupada's wisdom in the PMA Effect.
Okay. Okay.
So, and just, you know, there's also, you know, life stories and lessons from other people. Everybody could be a teacher. Even
Mm-hmm.
the homeless person on the street can drop wisdom on you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know, and to me, Prabhupada said, it's better to be an honest street sweeper than a charlatan spiritualist.
True. True.
And it's like, you know, not just in that culture, you're seeing a lot of hypocrisy, because that's what Kali Yuga is, the iron age of quarrel and hypocrisy. You're also seeing it with the politicians. They're telling everybody in New York and all around the United States, this is what you have to do, but they don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody knows what is and what is not to be done.
True.
So how do we find out what is and what isn't to be done? Guru, Sadhu, and Sastra. The Guru's teaching, the Sadhu is the wise man, the Sastra is the Vedas.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have an issue, all I got to do is pull up my original version of the Bhagavad Gita. This is the pocket version. You can't even get these anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I just say, okay, well, what does Krishna say about that? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And
It's amazing
what does
that
Prabhupada say in the purport?
mm-hmm.
Everything is explained. So there's no need for mental speculation, you know?
It's amazing that you know so much more about the Krishna culture than a lot of Indians. And I'd like to add to this conversation that I came across your profile first when I was on Joe Rogan's page on Instagram. And you were the one who was explaining about Ganesha to all the commenters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that time
because, you know, there's a lot of, Prabhupada said what the Indian people do is like khichdi. A little of this, a little of that, sprinkled with a little of this. That's what Prabhupada gave is the real teachings. You know, what did Lord Shiva say? Lord Shiva said worship of the demigods is for the less intelligent. The highest worship is worship of Vishnu. Even higher than that is the worship of Krishna, the all-attractive person. So if I have a plant in my house, I don't water the leaves and the branches, I water the roots of the, so when you worship Krishna, all the demigods are satisfied. Indra, every Brahma, Shiva, Ganesh, every demigod is pleased. And to give the analogy, if somebody offers me $1,000 or $1 million, what am I going to take? I'm going to take the $1 million because the $1,000 is already included in the $1 million.
Yeah.
So, you know, Prabhupada told us, get the farm communities together, become self-sufficient, all of this stuff. He said, in the future, the cities will be empty. People will flee from the cities. And, you know, there was so much good wisdom to be had from what Prabhupada said. And not just, you know, offering lip service, but actually applying it to your life. That's the difference. You get a lot of people talking and putting on a big show and, you know, do they take action? You know, that's the question.
Yep.
So, you know, the only reason that I tend to be more versed in things of the Vedic culture and the scripture is because I follow Prabhupada. And Prabhupada gave the purest form of that. And his spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, they called him the Nrsinga Guru in India, the lion guru, because he called out all the cheaters. Every day in India, there's a new person calling themselves God.
Oh, yeah.
And scamming people. And it's a big hustle. You know, spirituality is a big hustle too, just like anything else. But I feel that when you cheat people spiritually, that's the worst you can do to somebody, because you can rob somebody's money. But if you cheat them out of like their spiritual life, that's a terrible thing to do. By, you know, you have to be very careful.
True. And John, so when did you first start running Ironmans? I mean, participating in Ironman?
Well, I did my first one at 50 years old in 2012.
Okay.
And I, you know, like I've always bike raced, been on my bike running, able to swim 2-3 miles whenever I, you know, and in the gym, the 80s into the early 90s, I got into martial arts a lot, you know, just because the streets were crazy in New York.
And which martial arts do you practice?
I studied with Ron Van Cleef for a while, and then just picked up. Take him in the other room, please.
He's crying.
All right, and then my dog.
I know. I see him all the time on Instagram. He's
You
awesome.
have to be. Get up. Yeah, come here. Come here.
What's his name?
You have to be. Get up here. Who's that? Who's that?
What's his name?
But you know, I learned things from just different teachers and stuff. You know, stuff that's applicable to the streets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I box still in a little Muay Thai, and you know, using elbows and knees, and you know, but I just was never into the politics of the schools. You know, like. So I
Gotcha.
And then when I got into, you know, Ironman, I just found like, all right, I've been fighting my whole damn life. I don't need to go to a school to learn how to fight. I'm trying to be a peaceful person. I already know how to fight. So let me fight Maya. Let me fight ignorance. Let me fight, you know, this other stuff. And, but yeah, I started my first triathlon was an Ironman right out of the box. So I never even did a sprint triathlon. I just went right from like August 11th, 2012, the New York City Ironman was my first one, and I just kept going after that.
So I'm aware that the Ironman is a really tough and grueling race. I mean, it also depends from person to person according to their training, but I'm sure there comes a point when the body does not want to go forward, but the mind is the only thing that you have left. So
yeah, I mean, that's what David Goggins says that too. Like when you think you're at your max, you've only really used 30% of your ability. A lot of it's mental. That's even those guys, you know, when you look at any of them, and I have friends that made SEAL teams, and you know, it's not so much the physical aspect is there, but what's going to really get you through anything in life is mental toughness. You know, that's what, you know, because the body's going to be hurting. Yeah, just like in Ironman, if you can't push through that. I mean, I just got like sick from drinking the water in Mexico in the last race I just did. Okay. I was throwing up and everything the whole after the swim, and then the first loop of the bike, first 34 miles. The swim I did a 109, which is pretty good. The water was choppy, and then I think I did like an hour and 15 minutes on the first loop, which was 34 miles, and then the wheels just fell off. I'm very sick, but the mind is what I just kept chanting, and the mind is what got me to finish. The body had given out. I lost all my electrolytes, like, you know, it was bad, but, you know, I wasn't going to quit. You don't quit. Okay. You don't quit in this business.
Yeah, yeah. No. And according to you, what is good advice for any athlete who wants to build mental toughness and the never die attitude?
I mean, you have to stay regulated, and I think your association matters a lot too. If you hang around with quitters and people that are always like, you know, there's some people that have a problem for every solution, you know. So I avoid those people. And you want to really stay around people that get their shit done under any and all circumstances, as I say in the PMA Effect. And hopefully by association, it comes back to association, that term again, Bhakti Sangan, those qualities will rub off on us. So I think it's just, you know, I have a coach too, so I'm accountable to somebody. I don't want to let my coach down. You know, and it's like that in any aspect of life. Whether you're a devotee, you need a guru. When you're a mechanic, somebody's teaching you. Like, you know, you know, if you're a soldier, you're getting taught by other soldiers who been in situations. So we have to hold ourselves accountable. You know, we can't just float through life and be like, oh, you know, you have to set goals and set difficult goals. And then you compartmentalize, you break it down. All right, how am I going to get this done? Just like a new book. If I sit there thinking, holy shit, I got to write 300 pages now, how am I going to get that done? The task is just so overwhelming. That's why you break it down.
Okay.
And how do you do that? I break it down into chapters. I say, all right, here's what these chapters are going to be. And then, you know, I get after it like that. Or if I'm writing a screenplay, you break it down to the scene. And then even below that, you break it down to the beat, which is every exchange between someone or some people in a movie, to the smallest element. Beats build scenes, scenes build acts. Scenes build sequences, sequences build acts, acts build stories. So what do you want your story to be? I failed, I gave up. That long outweighs that. I mean, I DNF'd in one race, and that was Florida. Did not finish because I didn't prepare properly. It was 38 degrees that day. I got hypothermia. And it you know, the medical staff, I came out of a porta potty and they were like, you should go to the medical tent. And I knew I was done for the day because I had hypothermia. And so I walked back from off the course back to my hotel, and, you know, and it was very, you know, it was a kick in the balls. And my friend was deployed at the time in Iraq. He's a Navy SEAL, and he says he would always write me about my training because, you know, giving me tips and stuff like that. And he goes, oh, how did the race go? And I said, man, I got hypothermia and I didn't finish, man. And he goes, he just gave me the sauce right away. He goes, that's on you. You didn't prepare. If I go into combat and I don't have my gear, then I'm letting everybody else down. I'm putting lives at risk. So you should have looked at the weather. You should have known every aspect of that race. And then he told me, get back on the horse. Don't let that failure define you. Now here's a guy that got sipe when he went to Buds to train, and it's swimmers. It's a disease where your body absorbs so much water that you can die. And his head swelled up like a medicine ball, and he almost died. And he went right back to training, and he went right back and went to the next Buds class, went right back to Hell Week. So when somebody like that is telling you what you need to do, then you listen. So he said, you know, you got to get the next race going, get your mind right back on the next goal. Don't sit there, you know, meditating on the failure, because that's going to crush you. And then I got home and they offered that this race didn't sell out, and it was in 2 weeks. So I just hit the button to sign up, and I went and did my fastest race I've ever done for Ironman down in Mexico. So, you know, that advice is there. Failure is part of the whole process of learning. Anybody who's expecting success right out of the box is delusional. They're deluding themselves, because that's not how it works. You know, by you know, by failure, we learn from our mistakes. We're improving. We have something to build upon, you know.
Well,
So,
and
and
on
I have
one
a
side,
chapter in
yes.
the PMA Effect. I have a chapter that says we must fail to succeed. That's part of it. That's part of life. There's going to be so many failures. We're going to get knocked on our ass so many times. I thought I had everything figured out. I lived as a monk, and then some things went down in my life in '87. My band member robbed me, all this, robbed the band, and I spun out, and I ended up from '88 to '90 being addicted to drugs and alcohol very badly. So, you know, there's, you know, giving up is something I don't do, you know.
Well, that's awesome
There's a
advice.
difference between slipping up and giving up. Everybody slips up.
Correct.
You know, some of the best fighters in the world didn't become the best fighters in the world till they got that first loss. And then you see where people are really at. Anybody could wear a mask and put on a big show that they got their life together. But my writing teacher said, let's put some pressure on that person and see where they're really at. Because the only true revelation of character is under pressure. That's what, you know, that's what really defines what a person truly is.
True.
Anybody could act, and I've seen it. I've seen people, Om Shanti Haribo, and then like the pressure comes on and they're like, fuck you, mother, you know, it's like, you know.
True that. Yeah.
And like I said, I still have my moments of raging and wanting to fuck people up, but I got to pull back on that because that's not the answer to things, and it gets you in a world of shit.
True.
Luckily, I got a girlfriend who always reminds me of that. Stop being an asshole.
Awesome.
You don't surround yourself by enablers, man. You surround yourself by people that call you on your bullshit.
True. Also, John, so how has turning vegan helped you perform better in Ironman competitions?
Well, you know, vegan doesn't really tell me what a person eats. It tells me what they don't eat. And you get vegans eating donuts and potato chips and deep fried shit all the time and sodas, you know, just because it's vegan. I try to practice the whole food, plant-based, organic diet, non-GMO. I see what's going on in India with the farmers and what Monsanto's done over there.
Yeah.
And so I try to adhere to that diet so it helps reduce inflammation. You recover quicker. There's a lot of athletes. If anybody hasn't seen The Game Changers yet on Netflix, I definitely suggest watching that film. There's a lot of badass men and women athletes breaking world records right now on a plant-based diet. You know, the three questions that I say, I wrote this new book that's coming out. It's how to do plant-based the right way from A to Z, what to eliminate, everything, you know, how to set up your kitchen, like every single aspect. And one of the things that I tell people is there's three questions that you got to ask yourself off of everything that you consume in this world. Because the Vaishnava philosophy is we leave a place better than how we found it. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what is this going to do to me? Right? What is consuming this product going to do to me? Next question, what is this product going to do to the environment, to the planet? Finally, what is consuming this product? Whose life did I impose upon to consume this product? So the Vedas tell us that we don't act according to the senses. We don't let the tongue drag us down. We don't let the mind. That's why in the PMA Effect, I'm constantly talking about the enemy mind. that the mind, we should see it as our worst enemy in the conditioned state. Krishna says that.
Mm-hmm.
Arjuna says, it's more difficult, it's easier to control the raging wind than to control the mind. And what is Krishna saying? The mind is controlled by practice and detachment, by sadhana.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you think about it, the tongue is always trying to tell us the allurement of the senses in the tongue. You're seeing these commercials. Oh, wow. Man, that Burger King with cheese and bacon looks so good. But then the intelligence has to kick in and say, wait a minute, there's people dying of heart disease and cancer and all that stuff from eating that shit. The ones who are destroying the rainforests, which are the lungs of the planet, 1/3 of the planet's fresh water resides in the Amazon basin, and the Amazon and the rainforests are like the lungs for the planet. They're tearing them down to graze animals and to grow crops to give animals, genetically modified crops at that, with heavy pesticide use. So I don't want to support that.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, look at the life of these animals, what they're subjected to. Like a life of pain and misery and torture. You're ingesting that. You're ingesting that, and it's affecting your spirit. It's affecting your karma. That's one of the things I said. The first change when I stopped eating meat was I felt this spark in my consciousness. Like I felt, the anger that I had off of like shit that was done to me as a kid, and just kind of being abandoned and left in foster homes and stuff like that. And then just being locked up, the whole 9 yards. It was a lot of anger involved. And I started turning the corner on that once I stopped eating meat. Something clicked.
Okay.
So that's the three things we need to ask ourselves. And what does buddhi mean? B-U-D-D-H-I. Buddhi means intelligence. Right? Tesham satatayutanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenam mamupayantate. Krishna's giving the intelligence. So we have to use our intelligence to control the mind and the senses, the 5 senses. And there's that picture in the Bhagavad Gita. Let me see if I can find it where the passenger is in the chariot, and they don't have it in this version.
Okay.
But the intelligence is compared to the reins of the horses, right? And then the senses are the 5 horses and the mind and stuff like that. So you have to really toe the line, man, in this day and age, and be very, very, very stringent with your practice, And even with your sports practice and everything, man, you have to be disciplined is everything. So I remain disciplined. I get up early. I work hard, throughout the day. I finish a project and I'm looking for the next project and I'm getting it started. Boom, 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 boom. That's how you get it done. I finished one race. I'm signing up for the next Ironmans,
So, John, before we move a little forward, do you have some time left, or is it about time?
I got about another 10, 15 minutes.
Okay. So my next question would be, what kind of diet do you follow in the sense, like, do you cook more Indian meals like dal? I did see you cook dal and roti and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was the other night. I eat all kinds of stuff. We make homemade veggie burgers. We make stir fries. I mean, I'm a cook. I got a cookbook coming out. I cook from all over the world. I'll make Greek food, Italian food, like just plant-based and do healthy versions of that. Chinese food, healthy versions of that. Japanese food, healthy versions of that. even American food. I made mac and cheese without even using any of the, you know, fake cheese. I made it all with vegetables, like, and nutritional yeast, and I fed it to kids, and they ate all of it.
Nice.
So, you know, to me, I try to just eat as healthy as possible. I juice a lot. I have a juicer. Smoothies. My girl just made me one. So yeah, you know, it's you know, the body's a machine. What you put into it is what you're gonna get out of it. And if you're putting in a lot of fried, I know the Indians love their deep fried samosas and pakoras and gulab-jamins and all this stuff. That's not really healthy food for you, you know. And
yeah, it might be vegan, but it's not healthy.
it's that's the thing, is it could be vegan, but it's not healthy for you, you know. And I try to eat, you know, like I made rice, dal, chapati, and steamed some broccoli the other night. But I know how to make, you know, khichdi. I made chutney last week with rice and tomato chutney. I like cooking. I like getting in the kitchen and spending some time. It's a meditative process for me. I put on, you know, either some reggae or some bhajan music, chanting. Try to offer the food to Krishna. You know, there's prayers for that to bless the food.
Yeah.
Namo Mahavananaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guru Sway Namaha Namo Brahmanadavaya Go Brahmanataya Jajagatrikaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Then you say Lord Chaitanya's Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Then the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Then Prabhupada's Pranam mantra. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale. Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nivashesha Shunyavadi Praskatai Deshatanane. But the main thing is that when you're cooking in a mood of love for Krishna. You're not tasting the food. You're offering the food. You're putting the food on a nice deity dish, a nice offering plate that you only use for that, for your altar, for your puja. And then you offer the food. If you watch the Vice documentary that I did, put in Vice Vegan Iron Man. Anybody that wants to watch that, they followed me for 6 months to get ready for Boulder Ironman. There's a whole segment of me cooking prasad in the kitchen. And I did the whole puja with the bell, and I offered all the food to Prabhupada and Krishna. But it's the mood that's what Krishna says. You don't, if someone begrudgingly offers me something, I don't care how opulent it is, I'm not going to accept it. But it could be a flower. It could be a cup of water from someone who's so enthused and so full of bhakti and devotion. And which offering is Krishna going to accept? The puffed up person who's just going through the rituals, or the person who's, to the best of their ability, is offering everything with love and devotion? The second one. Yeah.
So the emotion matters.
Listen, if everybody reads Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktivedanta VedicLibrary.org, you can read all the original books on there for free. Not the changed ISKCON books that they've changed Prabhupada's books. I don't read those books. Let me get the exact website for you.
Sure.
Yeah, and Bhaktivedanta VedicLibrary.org, and that's BHAKTIVEDANTA VedicLibrary.org. The original books are there. You can either read them digitally, or there's audio books. You can listen to it. So we have to purify ourselves in this world. And the material world is very contaminating in every sense of the world, but especially what's going on right now, the mental contamination of the Kali Yuga. They're programming us to live lives of misery under these dictator type governments that are existing right now. And they're doing it in the guise of, oh yes, there's so much freedom. You're so much better off this way. So my suggestion is to develop communities based on the principles of spirituality and compassion for all living entities. Grow your food organically. Prabhupada always said it's simple living and high thinking. And Prabhupada also said in another one of his books, The Science of Self-Realization, he offered a chapter and it was called Spiritual Solutions to Material Problems. Because the material world is birth, death, disease, old age. Nobody wants these things to come. Nobody wants disease and old age to come, but it's coming. And when that's all you know in your whole life is to be a karmi, what Prabhupada said, under the laws of karma, you know, then that's what's headed for you. Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik, Adi Atmik, the threefold miseries of the body and mind, miseries caused by other living entities, miseries caused by natural disturbances. This is all waiting for us. The minute we extract ourselves from our original constitutional position of being servants of God or Krishna, then everything in the material world that's inauspicious is waiting for us. And that's my message to people in India. You have the highest culture. You have the highest everything. When people start saying to me, oh yeah, life started in Africa. I said, no, it didn't. You guys don't know. Well, that's where they found the bones. Well, guess what? In India, they burned the bodies for millions of years. They just found remnants of Dwarka under the water.
Yes.
I pay attention to all of this, man. The Vedas tell you how to travel to any planet. You know, the mystic cities, Siddhis, everything, if you know, and there's people that are utilizing this knowledge for bad things too. Look what Hitler did. Hitler sent the SS to India to study, and the Gestapo. He turned the Vedic symbol the other way and made it a symbol of hate. The swastika. That's if you do fire yoga, you'll see that symbol is there, but Hitler turned it the other way.
True.
He took a lot of the science of the art of war from India. Even the Aryans, that term is a Vedic term. It means a society built on spiritually conscious individuals, and he made it something disgusting and ignorant.
Yeah, he converted that into like a superior race sort of.
You're the superior race because you're born German. It's just like the people that call themselves Brahmins.
True.
Prabhupada said, we don't support the caste system at all.
Yep.
If your father's a doctor, that doesn't make you a doctor. You become a doctor by qualification, not by birth. And now you get all these people, yes, I am chanting Gayatri Mantra right after I eat a Big Mac. It's all bullshit. Everything's watered down in the Kali Yuga. So how do we get to the real essence of things? The real books, the real knowledge. Guru, Sadhu, and Sastra. That's the check and balance for everything. I don't care what Joe Schmo on the news tells me, or some crooked ass politicians telling me, or the pharmaceutical companies are telling me, or any of that. Because it's all smoke and mirrors. They're not writing the scripts. The scripts are handed to them.
Correct.
They're puppets. And we're the ones that are being subjected to all of that. That's why we have to extract ourselves. That's why Prabhupada said, get the farm communities together. Grow your own organic food. Become self-sufficient. Stop you know, trying to be Westerners, man. Prabhupada said, nobody in India would follow me. When I bring my dancing white elephants back to India, then the Indians will take notice. And when Prabhupada was told nobody can make devotees in the West because some of his godbrothers went to England. They said, these people are so addicted to sex life, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling, you'll never make anyone a devotee. But Bhakti Siddhanta, Prabhupada's guru, told him, you go to the West, you're the one that can do it. And look what happened. Yep. Prabhupada went to the West, and then he came back to India. And upon seeing the Westerners in saffron and shaved heads and tilak, the Indians became ecstatic. That's what Prabhupada said. You have the greatest gift in the world to offer to people. Don't try to become like the Westerners. Don't eat meat. Don't do all this nonsense. Stick with the culture and the highest form of the culture. And that's what Prabhupada was offering. When Prabhupada came to New York, he came to the Bowery, to the ghetto, and preached to the real people and fed people. Well, and then all the other gurus went uptown to Park Avenue and lived in the lap of luxury. And you know, I've always been watching out for people cheating, and that's what attracted me to Prabhupada, was that he was the most honest. And if anybody watches on YouTube Your Ever Well Wisher, it's his life story. He's like, you can't even put words. You know, Prabhupada was a Shaktavesh avatar. He was like Jesus. He was empowered to spread God consciousness all over the planet. Nobody's done what he's done. Nobody.
That's very true. That's very true.
All of them got caught up in all these scandals. That's why the Beatles stopped following him. They were having sex with their disciples. He's like, these people are bogus. And then when George saw what Prabhupada was doing, he's like, this is the real spiritual teacher. He's the Acharya. He's leading by example. And he donated the Bhaktivedanta Manor in London. So that's my message to everything's running off of the soul. Without the presence of the soul, everything's dead. You're not doing no Ironmans. You're not cooking no good vegan food. You're not doing anything. So why is everybody giving so much emphasis to this dead body rather than the soul? Why isn't anybody coming in contact with who they really are? You say my arm, my leg, my head, my body, my intelligence. Who's the possessor? You're saying my intelligence, my mind. Well, who is the possessor of those things? That's who we really are. But in Kali Yuga, the Maya is so deep, people don't even take time to have the conversations like what we're having right now. Yep,
that's very true. That's very true. And especially countries like India, we are still a developing nation. So just the basic needs of an everyday man are a little tough to meet.
Economic development and sense gratification will get you going to hell.
Okay.
Prabhupada said, we're not enemies of the machines. We use the machines in Krishna's service. A knife is a tool. I can use the knife to kill somebody, or I can use a knife to prepare a nice meal and make prasad and offer the prasadam and have a meal with my friends. It's not the knife money is not evil. People say money is the root of all evil. No, it isn't. I took my money and I opened up an ashram on St. Mark's Place and kept it open for 10 years that fed the homeless and gave free books and free yoga classes, bhakti yoga classes to everybody. And it was a place for people to come to Mangal Artik, Sindha Artik, to come to the evening programs and hear Bhagavad Gita. So that money was utilized in a positive way. Money's not the root of all evil. The root of all evil is envy. That's the root of all evil. Envy is a very, very bad quality to have. When I see people becoming successful and doing things, I'm enlivened by that. They worked hard to get, you know, where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you have some vision, you understand everything in the material world is temporary anyway. So why should I be, you know?
True.
My mother couldn't figure out, because I spent hundreds and thousands of dollars. My mother said, you could have bought a house with that money. Huh? Like, and then she came to the Sunday program and she saw how many people were being helped out by that temple, because we would get 100 guests coming on Sundays for the chanting, the kirtan, the prasad, the class, and lives were being changed.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, Ma, that's why Prabhupada said he built a house for the whole world to live in. You know, because that's what this is. This, I could have had a house and been alone in that house and been miserable. Look at this place. I get to come here and have the association of all these amazing people and talk philosophy. And, you know, we had Radha Govinda Didis in there. Great. We had a Prabhupada Murti. And people were ecstatic, you know, getting off drugs and all kinds of nonsense. What's the value of a human life? And it wasn't, I did the construction and everything. And you know what I did when I was done? I handed the keys over to a Grihasta couple, Brahmabhuta and Madhavani. I said, this is the temple that you're going to run. I'm here to make sure nobody does any nonsense. The temple commander, so to speak. And this is the people's temple now. And that was it. When people said, oh, that's your temple, I said, no, that's not my temple. That's the people's temple. That's Prabhupada's temple. So that's my message to everybody, because it doesn't matter how strong you think the body is, all of this, everything in the material world is temporary. What we carry with us is what's in here, even into the next life. So do the best you can in this life to associate with devotees, be devotional, do good work, leave the planet better than how you found it.
True. And John, I can see the passion in you for this philosophy. And I also know that you're a motivational speaker. So where can anybody find your services or books, if you have any website?
I'm going to be offering coaching services soon. I just got certified.
Okay.
I used the lockdown to write 2 books, to train for an Ironman, to write. I took a course to become a life coach. So yeah, my social media, I'll be starting group coaching as well as individual coaching. I'll be developing a coaching group. So the website will be posted, but you know, just you can follow me on Instagram. You know, if you put up my Instagram stuff and my Twitter, JJ Cromag, John Joseph on Facebook, or John Joseph Cromag on Instagram. And you know, I'll be posting up all that stuff. And I have an agent when I go out and speak, although all the speaking gigs have pretty much been shut down. You know, you can go spend an hour in the Walmart with thousands of people, but you know, 20 people are not allowed to socially distance in a room. I mean, they had to take these people to court because they tried to shut down people going to temples and churches and all of that stuff. So it's craziness. But, you know, we have to stay positive, and this is a real test for a lot of people. And like I said, if you're going to sit there and watch the repetitive news cycle constantly, then you're going to get sucked into the Maya. That's how they get you. Just extract yourself from that. You don't need to be following that 24/7. Where's that going to get you?
True.
But yeah, social media and, you know, I'm always posting stuff on Instagram and, you know what I do.
Yes. All right, John. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh yeah, sorry it
a-
took so long, but you know.
Oh, no, no, completely fine. I completely understand that you might be busy and you were completing a few races and you have your own work as well. So not a problem. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a great lesson for all of us. Thanks for the reminder to all the Indian people that we are somewhere forgetting our culture and we need to get back to our
Yes.
roots.
You have everything. Martial arts came from India.
Yes.
Yoga came from India. You know, even the plant healing, the power of plants, Ayurvedic medicine came from everything's come from India.
Yes. And
you know, so don't forget your culture. And the thing is, this is why I do these, because if even one person is helped,
yes,
I would appreciate if you can post a link to read Prabhupada's books.
Yes, for sure. Yes.
And even if one person is helped, like I said, how do you put a value on a human life? I just had somebody write me today and say that their fiance took his own life.
Okay.
And then she wishes that he would have been able to read the PMA Effect, but she didn't know about it until after he died. And somebody said to her, you should read, because she got depressed because her fiance committed suicide. And somebody said, you should read this guy's book. And she wrote me today and said, I wish he would have read this book because he was a fan of your music. And I really feel if he would have read this book that he might have been able to push through what he was going through. And a lot of people are going through it right now because they're isolated. They're, you know, but that's where the training as a monk, I value that time by myself. You can use that time by yourself to advance yourself, or you can spin into depression. Don't let that happen. Utilize the time alone to better yourself now. That's what it takes. You know? Well, hopefully there's someone out there that needed to hear what we talked about.
Oh, yes, for sure. There are quite a lot of people looking forward to this conversation. And I give you all the best of luck and best wishes for the good work that you're doing. I'm sorry?
Same to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Spreading a good message out to people, you know, and I appreciate you taking the time to make it happen today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope you and your family remain safe. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We will be chanting Hare Krishna. All right. And watch a movie. If you guys haven't seen it, go on forksoverknives.com.
Okay.
And watch the movie. And then the head chef for all of the recipes of Forks Over Knives is Darshana. She's from India.
Oh.
And her parents are devotees.
Okay.
And she makes incredible meals. And she's a wonderful person. That's Brian's fiance, Brian Wendell, who did the movie. So they're friends of ours. And, you know, she has a whole bunch of Indian recipes as well that you can do plant-based.
Oh, great. I didn't know that. I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.